NHL today, right here on SportsGrid. Great to have everybody with us here. Mike Carver with you. Our weekly look around the National Hockey League as we get, it's really more than down the stretch we come. There is now less than a week left in the regular season for the NHL, which means this time next week when we're with you on NHL today, we will have the matchups. We will have everything ready to go for the first round of the Stanley Cup playoffs, the best time of the year if you are a hockey fan. But we do have to find our way through this last week, which can be tough. If you like betting hockey every night, it's not easy because pretty much all the spots are going to be locked up by the end of this weekend. Yes, there's still going to be some jockeying for positioning. Some of it I'm not sure it matters much to teams. In other spots, maybe it does, but you never see the real load management in the NHL like you see in the NBA, but you could see a couple of star players here or there, maybe not playing over the last week. Definitely maybe some starting goalies not playing over the last week as teams get themselves tuned up for the first round of the playoffs. So make sure you keep your eyes on all of that. We will focus a lot on the end of the regular season here today. And then, of course, we'll have Dave Sharpan coming up in a bit. And we'll get you a final five for tonight because we do have 5 games in the NHL this evening, and we've got to look at all of those. All right, let's start off quickly a bunch of stuff from last night. And there were a lot of games on Thursday night in the NHL. There was also a good portion of them that really didn't have much gas to them, if you know what I mean, including, the Rangers, I guess, stayed alive with the 9-2 beatdown. What a pathetic showing from the Islanders last night at the horse track. 9-2 Rangers win. And the Rangers are now, they got a pulse, but they don't got much left, which we'll talk about in a moment. Chicago beat the Bruins, a friends and family only game. Panthers beat Detroit. So the Panthers are going to try to keep themselves in the mix to maybe have some home ice next week when they play the Lightning, most likely, in the first round of the playoffs as they now sit there with 96. They're 1 point back of Tampa. Also last night, Columbus, like the Rangers, trying to keep themselves in it. A 3-2 win over the Sabres. That means that they are also, like them, hanging by a thread before elimination in the Eastern Conference. Caps beat the Canes 5-4 in the shootout. And on the West side, Jets beat the Stars 4-0. They could see each other in a couple of weeks. Canucks with a win over Colorado. Leave it to the Canucks. Typical Canucks. They wait till the last week of the season when they're already pretty much out. Now they are officially eliminated to have big wins and play their best hockey. The huge comeback, historic comeback the other night in Dallas when they were down 3 in the final minute of regulation. And then last night, a 4-1 win in Denver against Colorado. But too little too late for Vancouver. They're finished. Predators beat Utah 4-3 in a shootout. Been a miserable season for Nashville, and they're almost done with it. Vegas beat Seattle 2-1, and the Kings took it out on the Ducks last night in the freeway battle. 6-1 victory for them. All right, we've got 5 games tonight, and one of them, of course, has a lot of significance, and that is going to be with Montreal taking on Ottawa this evening. Now, there's actually a little bit of a twofold here for this. So, Montreal comes into tonight, 87 points. They are 6 points clear of both Columbus and the Rangers. So that means a victory tonight would get them what? 8 points up with only 3 games. Well, the Rangers and Columbus have 4 games left. Rangers have 3. That would eliminate the Rangers tonight. Columbus would be hanging on by a thread. But Montreal pretty much can seal it for themselves tonight with a win over Ottawa. And if they did beat them tonight, they'd actually jump up to 89 points, and they'd only be 1 point back of the first wild card spot. And look, there may be some significance there. I don't know. You want to play Toronto, or do you want to play Washington in the first round? I think if you're Montreal, who's won 6 games in a row right now, you just want to keep putting the foot on the gas and get yourself in. If you happen to pass Ottawa while you're doing it, more the better. But Montreal, one of the hottest teams in hockey right now, and they play tonight 6 in a row. And they've actually beaten Ottawa 3 in a row, too. There you see the numbers for this evening. Your Dogs, plus $1.18 for the Habs tonight in Ottawa. Detroit is in Tampa this evening. Detroit has lost 10 of 11 on the road. They're finished. Tampa's won 11 of 13 at home. And as you'll see, Tampa 1 point up on Florida for this 2 spot. They're 3 points back of Toronto for the lead in the Atlantic. So this would match them in games with Florida tonight. If they can win and get to 99, they'd be 3 clear of them with 3 to play, and they'd be 1 back of Toronto with 1 game in, with Toronto having the game in hand on them. So big game for the Lightning tonight in terms of seeding. Looks like they're going to play Florida in the first round. They've seen each other a bunch the past couple years in the playoffs. I don't think home ice is that big of a deal between those two. Maybe a little bit more to the Tampa side than the Florida side. But still, when those two teams hate each other like they do, I don't think it matters where you put the rink. It's going to be a great series. Elsewhere this evening, Pittsburgh into New Jersey against the Devils. Now, the Devils have won 8 out of 10 against Pittsburgh. We know that the Penguins are playing out the stretch. It's been a miserable season for them. But the Devils are now also locked into what they're doing. They're playing Carolina. It's going to be next week. All these games for the Devils coming down the stretch mean nothing. And it's like I was saying before at the top, the last week of the regular season, it's difficult because you have a lot of teams that are really just getting these last 3 or 4 games in and getting ready for next weekend when they play their first playoff game. So you got to be careful. I know there's trends here and all those things. The Penguins probably going to put out a better squad than the Devils this evening. So that could be a little bit tricky there. San Jose in Edmonton against the Oilers. The Oilers destroy the Sharks every chance they get. They have won 12 of their last 13 games against them. And as far as where the Oilers are sitting right now, they have 95. They really can't be caught by anybody behind them. They're 4 points back of LA to have home ice against them. It's another situation where I don't think Edmonton cares too much if they have home ice against LA because they beat LA every year in the playoffs. Beat them every year. I don't know if they're going to beat them this year, but they've beaten LA every year in the playoffs, so I don't think they're too concerned. I'd be more concerned if I was them to make sure that by next weekend you have Draisaitl and McDavid as healthy as possible wrapped in bubble wrap. So that would be the most thing for me when it comes to the Edmonton Oilers here coming down the stretch. And finally tonight, Minnesota is in Calgary against the Flames. Minnesota's been playing some wild games lately. As you look at that 5.5, they are road favorites tonight. Now, the Flames are the only team in the West that's still hanging on. They are 5 points back. They have 4 games left, and St. Louis actually only has 2 games left. So, it's bleak, but the Flames are still holding out hope to potentially get in. Minnesota, meanwhile, is even in points with St. Louis at 93. Tonight is their game in hand, where they could push themselves up to 2 up on them, and each will have a couple to play. Now, neither are going to get into the top 3 in the Central, but difference between playing Winnipeg and Vegas? Honestly, yeah. I think there is a little difference in playing Winnipeg and Vegas in the first round. Winnipeg's going to have a lot of pressure. Winnipeg's got this little stigma of not being able to get it done in the playoffs. Vegas is a proven playoff performer. If I'm Minnesota or St. Louis, yeah, I think there is a big difference between who you're going to play once you get down into that first round. So there you go. Tonight's action, 5 games we have this evening. We'll get Dave's thoughts on a couple of them as well. You saw the standings a couple of times there, so you see where you sit. Carolina, Jersey, the only series that is locked in right now. They will absolutely be playing next week. Carolina is going to be heavy favorite in that series, especially with no Hughes for the Devils. Minus 275 for that now. Next Friday, we'll have some fun with things, series props, minus 1.5 games, guys to score goals, all of that crazy stuff. We'll come back. We'll get Dave for the mix. NHL today here on SportsGrid. We're back right after this.
Okay, what tools can you use to measure those things a bit? And that's where you have like force plates and 3D motion and launch monitors, things like that. But that's all just sort of like measuring what's happening. That doesn't necessarily explain why one guy's really good and another guy's not really good. And that's where there's still kind of like this ongoing, how do you like continue to do research to understand that better? And I think that's going to last well past my lifetime.
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
We know what Chris Sale can bring. I was personally high on Schwallenbach. Smith-Shawver, their other starter, looks okay to kind of bad. They need to I don't want to say tread water, so I think that puts it in a bad light, but that's what they ultimately need to do. They need to tread water until Strider gets back, until Acuna gets back, and maybe it's just part of the team morale mentality that we're not at full strength, need to kick things into gear once those guys get here.
Pro Baseball Today, only on SportsGrid.
These guys are barreling everything right now that are hitting well. Pitching is usually ahead of hitting this time of year, but torpedo bats is what we're reading about, Tom, and I think it's hilarious.
Will the pitching be out in front, or are the bats actually this strong? So it's going to develop over the course of weeks. And again, if all teams have the ability to do so, be creative with it and get out there and use it.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
After every round, you guys were still up in each other's face, mouthing off before you went back to your corners, trying to get not just the last punch, but the last word. What was the move between you guys? Obviously, you're in there for your fright.
It didn't cut him. It didn't stunt him. A point wasn't taken away. There's no reason to even mention something like that. You're in a brawl. Things are happening. Accidents happen.
Only on SportsGrid.
And we are back, NHL Today, right here on SportsGrid. Mike Carver here with you, our weekly look around the National Hockey League. Of course, it's always great to have the sportsbook consigliere, Dave Sharpan, with us every week here on NHL Today as well. Dave, good to see you as always. I know I've been kind of counting it down with you here every week as we've been doing the show, but I can taste it now, Dave. I mean, this is it. We're a week away. I believe Thursday is the last day of the regular season. They've dragged it on. It seems longer than ever this year. But yes, next Friday, we'll be talking about all the matchups. We already have one locked in. Really, I think 2 or 3 other ones maybe locked in as well. But we have one officially locked in with Devils Carolina. I just got to get through this week, Dave, and get ourselves to the real thing, the Stanley Cup playoffs.
Absolutely. It's good to see you. Yeah, we're talking hockey, but it's Masters week. And I know you're distracted with the golf. You put everything with the golf. Start to put things, futures with the golf. I get it. All right? We need to focus a little bit. The hockey gets a little bit silly the last week because there's teams that are playing like before the exit interviews and the vacations. And there's other teams that are playing for position. And there's other teams that are playing like Carolina and New Jersey are locked in. So you start to get these weird, like looking at the daily slate, it's really difficult, Mikey. There's not a lot of things going. The game tonight, obviously, I wore the Montreal stuff. I love this jersey. This is that alternate Montreal jersey.
The alternate, teal. The light blue, the baby blue.
The old school stuff is great, though. It's still one of the best uniforms in all of sports. And Montreal's going to make the playoffs. They're playing Ottawa tonight. This is going to be one of those ones, Mike. I like Montreal tonight. I like Montreal to make it a very difficult series for whoever they get.
Well, I was actually, and I'll give everybody a little preview of the Final Five right now because I usually pick one future that I like to add to the portfolio every week at the end of the show. We've seen the hot team going into the playoffs make noise a lot in the NHL. It's one sport where the hot team can absolutely win a bunch of rounds. Florida was the last team in 2 years ago when they made that first run to the Cup final when they lost to Vegas. Last year, they were obviously more dominant when they got there. But giving you Montreal, that I believe it's 36-1 to win the East still. And there is actually the 36-1 Montreal to win the East. Now, I don't particularly love this team, but honestly, Dave, we know how this works. They get through 2 rounds and they're in the East Finals, and suddenly you've got opportunities, Dave, which we always love. We love opportunities.
That's all we can ask for in this business is opportunities, and that's a good thing. And again, full disclosure. I show up. There's one heads up. Are you showing up? We got the notes. We're ready to go. Done. And I come into Montreal stuff. Maybe it's meant to be. It might be one of those things. Listen, it's good for hockey when Montreal's good. Okay. They're good. All right. They're young and just young enough to not know what's at stake and just go play and just give me the next game. Give me the next series. If they match up with Washington's that team that's got the best, right? Like that might be the one. Everybody's looking to fade the Capitals. Hello.
Wait, hey, Dave. Toronto's got demons too. They got them against Montreal also. I mean, that would Toronto. I don't think they want to see Montreal in the first round of those playoffs. So that I think it's scary for. I don't think that there's a team in the East. I know Florida's been there the last 2 years, but I don't think that there's a superpower in the East that I'm going to say, oh, that team can't be beat. I don't think that there's any team like that. So if you got a plucky underdog long shot, they could make some noise. And I also thought of you this morning for this reason, because I was doing my look through, and me and you love these, the exactas. Starting to look at the exactas, Dave. The exactas are in. Mm-hmm. I'm in on the exactas. Yeah. I've got a couple that I was looking at, whether it's Dallas, Tampa, Winnipeg. There's a couple of exactas that they're still really good prices. 24-1 Dallas, Tampa. There's a couple others in the 20 area. Now's the time, because once they start, I'm worried
about Dallas. Though. I'm worried about Dallas.
Like
Dallas has a war in the first round. It sets up right now them against the Avalanche.
Yeah,
they're leaking oil bad. The last couple games have been terrible, giving up 3 goals in a minute and losing that game against Vancouver. And then last night they got shut out by Winnipeg. I mean,
are you believing more in Winnipeg? Are you believing more in Winnipeg?
Yes, I am. It might be his time. But now, if Winnipeg and St. Louis match up, we could get the rematch of the Four Nations with the goalies. I mean, Binnington, St. Louis has completely turned everything around. They may end up coming to Vegas. I don't think Vegas needs or wants to see that. The Vegas games are going to be all unders.
They all want Minnesota. They all want Minnesota right now. I mean, Winnipeg and Vegas are both sitting there going, if there's any way we can have the Wild, we would absolutely love it right now.
Calgary gets the Wild tonight. That's a win. The Calgary's going to beat the Wild tonight. Did you see the home goodbye, though, to the Flower? That was pretty good.
Yes, I did. They did a nice job with that. The Flower is going to be missed. He was excellent. Is there any do you agree with me on the Devils and Penguins? It's tough, man. These last week, teams that are already in, don't look at them the same way you looked at them for the last few months. It's hard to bet these teams.
But, I mean, I got my listening glasses right here. I'll put them on. Every time the Penguins play the Devils, I swear they lose. I mean, I know. It's hard to believe they're $2 favorites today. But the Penguins just can't beat the Devils, especially in New Jersey. I don't know, Mike. Such a disappointing season for the Penguins. I mean, did you see Sid at the big night out with McAfee? He threw a strike. Can he play quarterback, too? The guy can do everything.
Look, I won't talk to you again until next Friday here. This last week of the regular season, is it kind of a stay away for you? Are you just let's gear up for next week? Because these games are too unpredictable. You don't know who's playing for what. Some teams don't care. I don't like the last week of the regular season.
It's a strictly in-game only wagering menu. I have to be watching a game like I was last night and took under in a Vegas and Seattle game. It was a dead under. It was a snooze fest. But that's the only way you can play these games. I don't know who's playing. I don't know who's not. I don't know. It's just a precursor for the playoffs, Mikey, when they tell you that, guy has a lower body injury when it's his shoulder. Who knows what? I can't wait, though. It's that time of year.
Look, next week, all the matchups, we'll have them. We'll preview them. We'll get some picks. Dave Sharpan, the Sportsbook Insigliere. NHL Today, back after this.
Did you know sportsbooks tend to draw up tighter bet lines for events that get even more bettors, like championship games or major matchups? My tip? Try betting on less popular sports. You might have a better shot at beating those odds. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this once?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
They won the game, and a lot of people, I think, are, prematurely writing them off. Like, I heard a lot of people say they're not even making the playoffs this year.
What I give them credit for right now, Scott, I'm not going to pencil them to win the division yet. Let's see how they do. What I give the Red Sox credit for, and this sounds like silly, I give them credit for actually trying this year.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
Okay, what tools can you use to measure those things a bit? And that's where you have like force plates and 3D motion and launch monitors, things like that. But that's all just sort of like measuring what's happening. That doesn't necessarily explain why one guy's really good and another guy's not really good. And that's where there's still kind of like this ongoing, how do you like continue to do research to understand that better? And I think that's going to last well past my lifetime.
The Smiley Show.
And we are back. NHL Today, right here on SportsGrid. Mike Carver here with you, our weekly look around the National Hockey League as we are getting ready. Final week of the regular season. Great stuff from Dave right there. He'll be with me next week. We will preview all the matchups for the first round of the Stanley Cup playoffs. All right, we do have some action tonight. We mentioned that there's 5 games in the league. Let's give you a final 5 before we get out of here. Some stuff to play for this evening. We'll start with our usual power play points, which have been pretty good for us on Friday nights. And here's what we'll do now. Now, McDavid came back the other night for Edmonton. Looked great. I would assume they're still going to play him again tonight. They look kind of locked into where they are, but it's not official yet. So McDavid tonight against the Sharks, who absolutely stink. I was a little surprised. I think they're giving you the plus right now because they're not sure if he's going to play or if they're going to hold him out. But if he's in there, grab the plus 110. McDavid for a power play point tonight against the Sharks. He always rings it up against them. Braden Point against Detroit this evening at plus 160 plus 180, for him. And then Nick Suzuki for the Habs tonight on the power play against Ottawa, plus 2 bills for Nick. So McDavid, Braden Point, Nick Suzuki for the power play points this evening. Same thing, I'm going to go McDavid for the goal scorer tonight. If he's out there, I think they'll ring the Sharks up, and you're getting plus money for McDavid on the goal. As of right now, plus 110 for him. For the side, I think the Habs shut the door tonight. I think they get their 7th in a row. I think that they continue their hot play. I think that they get themselves into the Stanley Cup playoffs, plus 118 for them over the Senators in Ottawa on the road. I think that they get the job done. As far as a total this evening, totals were a little tough for me because we said, I don't know what to expect from some of these teams, but I don't expect much from the Devils tonight. Penguins never play well against the Devils, as Dave just mentioned. Devils probably aren't going at 110% this evening. How about the under with the 6.5 for the Devils and the Pens? Minus 138, under 6.5, we will go with them. And for our future on the final 5, I gave you, kind of let the cat out of the bag on that with Dave before, 36-1 for Montreal to win the East, purely because if you look right now, they are the hottest team going. They've won 6 in a row. They vaulted up to where they're going to be in these spots. There's no other sport like the NHL where teams can come from really out of nowhere and set themselves up for a deep playoff run. We've seen it plenty of times on both the East and the Western Conference over the last 20 years. So let's take a shot, 36, and if you get that, they can win a couple of rounds. Now, I'd probably prefer, honestly, I hope that they're on the Metro side of the tree. I wouldn't feel great about it if they're playing Toronto and then have to play the Florida-Tampa winner. I'd prefer that they're on the Washington side. I think that Washington's more a chance for them to upset than Toronto. And then playing the Carolina Devil winner. I think that's our path if we can get it with Montreal. And I think the number will be a lot different if it's the other way. I think this could get chopped down a little bit if they get locked into that spot. So 36-1 for Montreal to go and win the Eastern Conference. And so that's where you kind of sit right now with just a week to go. You take a look around and there's not much that's going to be at stake. If the season ended today, we know that Carolina is going to play New Jersey. We kind of looking like Tampa and Florida are going to be on the other side of things. And it's looking, as of today, it would be Toronto taking on Ottawa. It would be Washington taking on Montreal. Those things could change as well as we move forward. Winnipeg would be the team that faces St. Louis at this point. Vegas would play Minnesota. But as we mentioned, Minnesota and St. Louis, very tight. LA and Edmonton are probably going to play each other for the 5th or 6th year in a row, as neither of them is going to catch Vegas for the division title. And Dallas and Colorado are pretty locked in too. So Dallas, Colorado, Edmonton, and LA, teams that know each other very well in the West. And those are two big-time series. You know, there's really 5 teams in the West that everybody mentions, and you got a couple of them playing each other there. That's going to take a lot out of Dallas and Colorado, and then have to go play potentially Winnipeg in the round after that. And that's why you're kind of seeing the numbers where they are right now on all of those teams. All right, so next week is when it's on. NHL Today, we will go through all the matchups. We'll have first-round props, guys to score goals, all of those fun things as we get ready for the first round of the Stanley Cup playoffs. Tread carefully here over the next week, these final games of the regular season. Anything's possible. Watch lineups, too, especially close to game time. Great job by Dave Sharpan. Great job by Tommy Reynolds. NHL Today! See you next week back here on the grid.
We all know nothing beats the energy of playing live roulette in a casino. But playing roulette online sure does have its perks. At the casino, you'll average 40 to 50 spins per hour. But online, you're looking at 100 to 150. The more spins, the more chance of wins. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas.
The game is on. The stakes are high. But the action isn't just on the field.
He's rearranging that ring. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
Just a little flyer, couple of 15.5 point live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. That's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.